Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to The Innervoice with Dr. Foojan Zeine, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and welcome to The Innervoice Show. This show is about making a difference in your life so that you can create a free mind and a heart filled with love toward creating a fulfilling life for yourself and everyone around you. I'll bring you the latest research in the realm of human sciences, and we'll talk to experts in their field to bring you the jewel of their knowledge and wisdom. I want to remind you about my book, Life Reset, The Awareness Integration Path to Creating a Life That You Want. It's almost like you wake up in the morning and you have tools and exercises where you can actually utilize in order to become aware of yourself and integrate the different parts of yourself and envision tomorrow in a whole new way without the influence of the past. And all of these series of exercises are there in the book, Life Reset, The Awareness Integration Path to Creating a Life You Want. The exercises that are there from Awareness Integration Model, which is a model that I created, has been researched and published in many of the international journals. And last year, we actually presented it in Harvard. We did the latest research at Cal State Long Beach and many of the universities, and we found amazing results of minimizing depression and minimizing anxiety and raising self-esteem and self-efficacy. So if you want to get the Life Reset book, go to my website, www.foojan.com. Or you can get it through Amazon. And if you'd like to consult with me, I have my offices in Irvine, Beverly Hills, and Woodland Hills in California, or I do consultation online. So again, go to foojan.com, and I love to hear from you. And if you have any comments or ideas about experts that you want to hear from or topics that you want to hear from, go to my website and email me. I love to hear from all of you. We'll be right back with a meditation from Sister Jenna from her latest CD, Inclusion Revolution.
We, the people of the world, in order to create a more perfect self and world, we are born to create a good life, one of wealth, happy relationships, and a healthy mind. I, the soul, am a citizen of the world. I promise to promote inner well-being and to secure a life of blessings, freedom, unity, and respect. So as I sit here in a state of true inner freedom, I allow the experience of the real me, the true beauty of the soul to emerge. And I acknowledge the true worth and the true beauty in everyone who shares our world. I choose to share good wishes and pure feelings with everyone I meet, because I, the soul, am a well-wisher, and I am true in sharing good wishes when I walk and move around during the day. So let me sit in the consciousness of remembering that we, the people, are all citizens of good wishes, emanating pure feelings, peace, purity, and inner freedom.
beautiful meditation from Sister Jenna from American Meditating Radio. I am so glad to have Lisa Bennett Matkin with us today. Lisa is a yoga therapist who's been teaching yoga and meditation for close to 3 decades. She's known to many through her appearance on the Yoga Zone TV shows and their line of videos. She was the co-director of the Mind-Body Therapy of Department of Health, a complementary healthcare center in New York City, founded by Dr. William Fair of Memorial Sloan Kettering, where she co-developed a 1,000-hour therapeutic yoga teacher training certification program. She has been on the faculty of Kripalu, Omega, and the Open Center. Lisa is the star of Anchor Bay's Healing Yoga line of videos, which are currently available. She has practiced in writing, developing, and producing over 23 retail videos and DVD releases. She was a contributing editor at Fit Yoga magazine and has also contributed to numerous other publications. Lisa is on the staff of the Tracking Project, a non-for-profit organization that is dedicated to educating the youth in the skills of traditional tracking, indigenous wisdom, and nature awareness since 2012. Currently, she is the co-owner of SHEA, S-H-E-A, Tree, I hope I say that right, I'm sure she'll tell me, Tree Center, or the Sacred Healing Earth Arts Center in Garrison, New York. Lisa's therapeutic and healing teaching style finds inspiration from her own life, challenges, and experiences, which she shares generously from her heart and spirit to guide others to reconnect with their own uniqueness. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Foojan. So nice to connect with you today.
Same here, same here. I love to hear a part of your meditation, probably at the end. We would love to close. How would that be? That's awesome.
Beautiful.
Sister
beautiful.
Jenna, start the show, and for you to be on the show and then close the show with your meditation.
Okay.
So
great.
Welcome. And where are you located? Are you in New York?
I'm in the beautiful wooded area of Garrison, New York, which is the Appalachian Trail is right in the back space of our center, it's called Shade Tree Center, and it's an acronym for Sacred Healing Earth Arts. And so a lot of people get it confused because it's just a different way of looking at it. But Sacred Healing Earth Arts is really the heart of what we're trying to do here.
So tell me about yoga therapy. I know that most people recognize yoga based on the yoga centers they may go to or the yoga classes that they have, at their gym, and appears to be very physical. And I know that I've had the experience of going to meditative yogas and yoga healing centers where yoga was not just the physical aspect of creating a beautiful body, and at best creating a great pretzel out of your body, but also the healing aspect of the yoga. And I know that I've asked my clients who have suffered from depression and anxiety and many other maybe mental health issues to incorporate yoga in their system. So can you talk about yoga healing and your approach to yoga healing?
My favorite subject. Thank you. Yes, I'm saddened in many ways that yoga is thought of as, putting yourself in a pretzel in this. I think it's off-putting to many people. They think, oh, I can't do that. And, I'm tight. I'm not flexible. Or it just looks kind of exotic and strange and intimidating. And, in the asana, the different poses that you put your body in, the danger of focusing just on the physical aspect of yoga is it just kind of empowers the ego, right? Because it's like, well, look what I can do, and it just kind of can take you in a direction that is fun. I mean, it can be fun if you're, in your early years, in your 20s, you can kind of get away with that because the body is more pliable. But if you decide to start in your 40s or 50s and you try to do some of those things, it can be dangerous even. So yeah, yoga is it's known, and the truth is, I mean, I'll just be really honest that I think it's a way that it tends to attract, and why it's become so popular, because it is very physically demanding. It can be one of the hardest workouts I've ever done, and the gift in it is that if it's done properly with somebody who knows what they're doing, and they bring in breath work, and they bring in visualization, and they bring in other aspects of it, you can have an experience. And I remember the first yoga class that I took with a man named Alan Finger, who did all the Yoga Zone shows, and he was my teacher for many years. And I started sobbing at the end of the class in Shavasana, which is the final pose where you lie down. And the tears just came out, and it was like, I'm home. Like, that's what came to me. And I just knew that this was a path. And I was so grateful to feel that connection. And many, many different amazing experiences have happened along the way. And the way that I was initially trained was that, you do all of the asana in service to meditation, to prepare the body to meditate, to prepare the body for spiritual work. And so, I had a long run with them, and we had TV shows and videos and all kinds of fun stuff that we did, that we were, I think, kind of on the cutting edge of putting yoga in the mainstream. And so that was just a fun thing, because, I was always so depressed about, I had been a model for many years, and I got into all kinds of trouble that way, and all kinds of addictions, and yoga saved my life, and I'll say meditation saved my life. And so it became a very, very important thing, and I saw how it affected me. And then as I learned and got trained to be a teacher, I could just witness people's healing process through this modality, through these practices, and it was just, whoa, this is really something quite powerful. And
one of the things,
and so it was. Sorry, go ahead.
One of the things, Lisa, that I had experienced is I have a lot of difficulty just with meditation, of just sitting and meditating and putting it. Focus on just the thinking part. I remember I even went to a meditation center, and it was one of those where you had to sit for 20 minutes and walk 20 minutes, sit 20 minutes, walk 20 minutes. So the first 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm all in pain. I don't like this. So walking, I like. The second 20 minutes, I'm kind of like being nosy. I open my eyes a little bit and look around at everybody and try to figure out what everybody's going through. And the third 20 minutes, I started sneezing and coughing, and it was like, no, I'm not sitting here anymore. And then yet my experience with yoga, as you just said beautifully, it's like it's all in the service of meditation. I noticed that when in yoga poses, or when I went in, because it's a bit active, and then it puts me right into my body in a whole different way and allows me to move my body, I had so much more pleasant experiences and really went into meditative states. And like you said, I had a lot of openings, insights and openings that kept showing up, versus just, sitting straight with a straight back and not moving with my eyes even fixated in that position. It would get me out of the meditation, and really anger would show up, and it didn't feel healing. It felt cathartic, but not healing, versus the yoga allowing me to be cathartic, healing, and then calming down and caring for my body. That's just my experience. I'm sure everybody has their own experience with meditation.
I think it has to do with, and I like to, part of therapeutics for me, and is to weave in Ayurveda. And Ayurveda is the science of life, and I always like to, the way I like to describe it is, it's kind of like, if you understand Chinese medicine, where there's some kind of understanding of the physiology through different elements, it's very similar. It's kind of the East Indians version of that science. And so it's, we have a certain amount of earth and a certain amount of water and air and fire and space within us. And according to those specific distribution of elements is what's called your prakriti. Depending on your unique constitution is what practice is going to be best for you. So sitting the way you were describing for you would not be quite right, And I always tell people, like, the more mindful, like the stronger the intellect, and I'll call this, somebody has a strong pitta, a lot of fire and a lot of intellect, and right, the thinking kind of person. This is very difficult to just do that kind of meditation where you just drop in and sit there. It's just not going to work. And I have a nature that's very like ungrounded and restless, and so I would tell people, if I can meditate, I promise you can too, because you would never have thought that I would be the type of person that could do this. And it's all about finding the specific technique that's right for you. So, I don't like the kind of yoga that says one size fits all. I think that, just like the conversation that you and I were having before the show, that, like, they're specific. So based on your specific condition. So prakriti, the word prakriti, and the style of yoga that I teach is called Prakriti's way, and prakriti means on a big scale, on a large scale, it means nature, the mother nature, basically. And so, but on a more microcosm, it means your own nature, it means your own individual constitution, and that's what I was talking about. It's called, in yoga they call it the doshas, your vata, pitta, kapha, and your fire, your earth, your water, and how that's spread out through you, and that gives you a certain gifts and gives you challenges, and it gives you, right, it's kind of like what you carry around with you, and it's your constitution. And if you live in a certain way that's in alignment with that constitution, you're healthy, you're happy, you're on your path. And if you decide to do other than that, you tend to not be in your best health.
How do you find your constitution, though? Can you say more about the constitution, and how do you become, like, how do you know it, and how do you become aligned to it, and how do you know you're not aligned to it?
Yeah, it's a life's work. It's a life's work, and I worked with many different Ayurvedic doctors. Deepak Chopra is a famous one. There's many different doctors that can take a pulse and they can tell you. But I'll say to you that the many different doctors that I've gone to have gotten different readings, and so I really think to me, it's about all of this, all of yoga, all of meditation, all of Ayurveda, to me, is about finding what your true purpose is. What did you come here? Who am I, right? And then what did I come? What is my soul? What is my essence? What did I really come here to do? Right? And so if I have pain and discomfort or disharmony or depression or whatever funky stuff is going on in my life, is it trying to nudge me in a direction and show me that maybe I'm not on my path? Maybe I'm not living according to what I'm really here to do. And it takes deep searching and deep introspection and truthfulness and courage to really, you almost sometimes have to break free from the family, the history and there's so many things that tell us who we are and what we're supposed to do. And we have to find truly, and that's really, I think, aligning with what your experience of spirit is, or source. And so that's what I feel like the tools of yoga do. They peel away the programming and what's been imposed upon us, which, you need that to survive life. You need the program to get along and to function in this world and society and make friends. But then ultimately you have to go back in and comb through all of those things and find out what really is me, what really resonates with me. What do I like? What don't I like? What helps me? What causes me pain? What are the things with food? Take it to the food even, it's like, what foods can I get away with that nourish me, and which ones cause a problem? And so it's all of these different ways of living and practicing that when you get the feedback loop of, there's magic that happens. There's a kind of click. There's a resonance. There's an experience. And that's what's always been my, I guess why I've continued on this path, is that there's validation through different experiences that are super personal. There's spiritual awakenings where you're like, I'm on the path. Like, there's an affirmation or there's a sign. And that's why I ended up getting involved with the indigenous people. Well, it's a long story how I got there, but my work with connecting with the indigenous people, they use signs and they look to nature to get a feedback from, are we on the right path? Is this the right direction? And so they do that in an external world, but as yogis, we have to track in an internal world. We have to look and feel and sense, what's my truth here? What really is resonating with me? And so what happens in the process of yoga, it's you're doing a practice and you're becoming aware of your physical body, of where the blocks are, where the tightness are, where the dis-ease, where there's imbalances, where there's weakness, where there's strength, where there's flexibility, where there's all those different things. And then there's the breathing. Where is that energy and that breath moving, or where isn't it moving? Where do I get stuck? Where is there stagnation? So there's that next layer. And then the next layer once you get past that, it's like, how's my mind? Where's my mind and my emotions? And then the next layer is, right, I'm taking you through the koshas. So the koshas, these different layers or different sheets. And so the next layer is kind of your conscious, like, what do you need to clean up in your life? With the angel and the devil on the shoulder, and it's like, where's my amends? What do I need to clean up? where have I done wrong? Where have I done good? And just kind of an inventory and really cleaning house. And then the last body is the spiritual body. And what is that? What is that connection? And it's so unique that no one can ever tell you. You can be given a religion, but ultimately the personal relationship with Source is revealed to you, and that's so individual and so personal and so profound. And that's where I think we get through the process of meditation. And that's why you have to have the technique. And there's many different techniques, and there's not one way, no one size fits none of how to begin to tap into the part that causes a transcendental experience. And so, for one, it might be doing a lot of pranayama and a lot of physical work because they can then settle. For another, it might be chanting. For another, it might be nature and sitting in nature. Right? There's just so many beautiful ways to meditate. And I think it's like, as you experience different types, then you get to start to get that feedback of this works, this didn't work.
One of the types of yoga.
Hopefully I answered your question.
Absolutely. One of the types of yoga that you experience and teach and work with is what you call a warm yoga. Now, I've heard of hot yoga. And there's a lot of it around. And, I've had people who experience beautiful experiences when they've gone, and other ones who just got irritated because they don't like sweating and it's just uncomfortable for them. And each person has their own experiences, but yours is called warm. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between regular yoga in room temperature, or warm or hot? What's the difference between them, and what is the purpose of these temperature changes?
Perfect. Great question. So again, always being, for me, in tune with nature is my goal. And then, obviously my own personal preferences. It's like, I'm unfortunately going to gear my style to what resonates with me, because, that's kind of what ends up coming out and what you can be authentic about, right? And so, in the middle of the summer, doing any kind of hot yoga would increase fire in everybody. And if you happen to have a lot of fire in your constitution, which I make up in my mind that you might have a lot of fire, that would just not feel good, right? And probably not feel good to most people. And it could aggravate the body and make you feel restless, uncomfortable. And then to do something like warm yoga on a cold, rainy day, that could be just exquisite, right? That could be just, you walk into this space that just like holds you, makes you feel like being in front of a cozy fire, and that could be beautiful. So hot yoga, from my understanding, and I'm not an expert at all about hot yoga, but they heat the room and to a place that what's wonderful about it is that the muscles relax and that you become more flexible and you detox the body. And I was always interested in that, and I've taken a couple classes, and I couldn't bear the smell. I couldn't bear how drippy, sweaty everybody would get. It was just like too much for me. I didn't, even though I could see the benefit of it. And then a friend of mine introduced me to what's called infrared lights, and you can control the heat. And so again, in a very cold, we had all this really, really rough weather out here lately in New York. And so these lights, the infrared lights, which are incredibly powerful, they detox the body supposedly 7 times more than if you were to go to a traditional sauna. Then just the toxins that come into the body are quite profound. Detoxes heavy metals, probably kills bacteria and viruses. And so the thing that's really interesting is you walk in to the room and there's no smell because the bacteria is actually being killed by the light. So there's no horrible smell from everyone sweating. Not that everyone's sweating in the class, but anything. The room never smells bad. So there's been people who treat Lyme's disease. We have trouble with Lyme's disease out here. And so people have gotten healed through using these lights with Lyme's disease. It helps to increase circulation, and not doing anything, just lying under the lights. It speeds the circulation and the metabolism, and you supposedly are supposed to burn like 600 calories just doing nothing under the lights.
I'm all in. You talked about
and come
warm
on, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm like, and so I like to do, at this point in my life, I like to teach a more gentle approach to yoga. And so, but I do know that getting the body warm enough allows someone to go deeper into the poses. So what was the quandary, right? So I have this Iyengar rope wall system with these ropes that you can click into the wall that helps to support someone if they're weak or if they have an injury, or if you just want to have a different way of working. And I love it. It's wonderful, but it doesn't build heat. And so to have the lights and then to be able to be gentle and focus on your breath and feel the warmth, there's just this, I find, a really beautiful combination. And we moderate it according to the weather, right? And so if it's already warm, we don't warm the room. We might even cool the room a little bit just to keep it at a place that feels delicious, that it's harmonious and creates what we call a sattvic state, a balanced state in the body, optimal for whatever we're doing on that day. So I say warm yoga, and we talk about the lights, and you can even put the lights so low that you're still getting an effect, but it's not heating the body. It heats internally. It doesn't heat the space, it heats the body. So,
wonderful.
But when you walk into the room, it does feel warmer. So I'm always confused about that because I'm like, yeah, it's definitely warmer in here. But it's a warmth that isn't uncomfortable. That's what I've got to say. Everybody that is afraid of hot yoga, they come and try this and they love it. So my dog, I'll just share real quick, my dog who's got some injuries and hip problems, and he'll come down and lay under the lights, and he'll pop right up afterward. Like, it helps with inflammation also. I had another woman who had a hip replacement, and she, laid under lights. We did super gentle work, and she popped right up, and she was like, I can't believe how much my pain has been reduced. So it's all kinds of great benefits.
Awesome. A lot of people talk about the spiritual world from their own perspective, from their own subjective perspective. And the word spiritual has a vast kind of connotation and a meaning. So what is yours?
Good one. Yeah, I love that. Wow. Well, my personal, for me, the word divine or God or source or any of that, that doesn't scare me. It doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. I'm good with it. But I could change that word and use creativity, and I can change that word and I could use nature. And I think there's a shift in consciousness, that there's another aspect of my being that I touch that shifts my paradigm or my view of myself and the world. And well, I'll if you don't mind, I'll share one experience. And so it's like, I think we awaken to who we are, like through our process on the spiritual path, and we get more and more, if we're on the path, we start to see ourselves maybe in a different way than we did when we were younger. And so I had, in the very beginning of at the ending of my modeling career, in the beginning of just studying yoga, I wasn't even teaching, I don't think, and I did my practice in a hotel room. And I hadn't really done it by myself, and where you did the whole little, breathing and stretching, and I didn't even meditate. I just, did kind of some of the poses that I was shown super early in my practice, as an adult, and I laid down, which I would hardly ever do at the end, and I had this moment again where I had this, it was like a veil had opened, and I felt kind of lifted up, and I felt energy around me. I felt like light surrounding me, and I started to weep, because what my experience was pure love. That I was receiving love, I was love, and that I was unaware of the love that was always surrounding me. And I just, again, sobbed, and just because I was so grateful for this experience in this moment. And it just made me sad that I was walking through life unaware of, like, what I thought was, I think, and still do think, what is the truth. So the ultimate is love. I mean, that is what a spiritual experience is this fully embraced experience. And then I think that, to me, divine source, God, I think, we're in training to wake up to recognize that there's a chant. It goes, Om Tat Sat Tat Twamasi. What it means, I am that I am. And that we see the divine within us, and we know that we are connected, and that we are an aspect of that, and we have a unique purpose, and no one else can fulfill that role. And when we align with all of that, we're in bliss, we're in ecstasy, we're in a beautiful way, and in that space, it's about just giving and being of service and wanting to help others. It's like, because the oneness of all things exists. You see yourself in all things.
So what's your purpose?
Say that one more time.
So what is your purpose?
My purpose. Goodness, wow. My purpose is revealed in every moment. I don't know that I could say that I know my exact purpose, but I feel much closer to it. I would say that it's about helping and being in service to other people, to help them find their dharma, to let go of the habits and addictions and ways of being that don't serve us anymore, to give tools to other people and to myself to live them, right? I want to live the example. Mm-hmm. And so to shed negativity, to shed resentments, to shed what's in the way. And in that, what I found out, which was really exciting recently, was to be connected to these indigenous people. I got to spend some time with the people of the earth, the Awaku, the Kanquamu, the Wiwab, and the Kogi in the La Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in Colombia. And we were asking them about helping to save the planet. And so they said to us, well, if you can rid yourself of your own negativities and resentments and clean up your path. And it was like, oh, that's what I've been doing. I really want to save the planet. So it's like, save yourself. And as you do the work, and, I have a long history in addiction, cleaning up those addictions and cleaning up the, all the resentments and angers and hurts and whatever it is, and walking through that and making amends and doing all the work that we do and connecting spiritually and being of service, that is what needs to shift inside ourselves, and then it's reflected out into the world. And so I want to live that, first of all, and I'd like to teach that. And that feels as close as I can get to what I think my Dharma is. It's pretty much, it's been affirmed quite a few times that that's a good direction for me to move in. More will be revealed. I never thought that I'd be working with Indigenous people, and I cannot tell you how life-changing that experience has been, and how close I see the connection between what they're doing in the world and connected to nature and what we're doing with yoga, and that there's this beautiful bridge and rapport, and it just expands the process of yoga outward.
Yeah.
So it's the oneness, right? Yoga means one, the union, right, of oneness of all things. And so,
yes.
So, yeah.
We're talking to Lisa Bennett Matkin. She's a yoga therapist, and we're talking about, and obviously I'm Foojan Zeine, and everybody is listening to LA Talk Radio, the Innervoice, and we're talking to Lisa Bennett Matkin about the world of spirituality. What is the world of connection and the path toward that through yoga and meditation, and what it is that you find within you, the purpose of life, and how do you bring that out into the world and into the everyday living. And as you were talking, I got it that, we say a lot of times that we are only a little bit, by some percentage, in control of ourselves, and we're not really in control of anything else outside of us. We can influence it. And the same thing that you were saying as you were founding with being in the nature and earth people, where although we see what's going on outside, but the only place that we really have something to do with is inside. And if I want something to be cleaned up outside, is really a great path to look at what I haven't cleaned up inside. And the more that I clean up what's inside, then I influence everything that's around me, at least, and be with what is around. I know that as I look at my own path, I keep looking at where, as if I don't have, or I pretend not to have any judgment about the world. But it seems interesting that when I experience judgment from the world toward the world or me, then I get very judgmental also about the world. So, and that judgment, I just call it like the anger piece, that it's still there, and it has a lot of purpose. Anger has a lot of purpose. But as I keep looking at the world, getting angrier and angrier, and gives the notion of the right to harm others, harm human being, harm animals, harm the earth. It just, if I'm angry, I want to harm, or even I get pleasure out of harming. This is what I sense from the external world, and then I judge it. And then then looking at going back inside, it's like, where is it that I also know that there are things that I harm myself and I continue doing, right? So like there were many years that I smoked cigarette, and finally I quit. When you were talking about addictions, or like right now, the addiction to sugar, we're still playing games with each other. So it's like, well, I know that, and if my intention is not to harm myself, then, my taste buds at times win over with the pretense of the pleasure. There's a pleasure that takes over the concept of knowing that there's a harm going on. And as you were talking about, when you go in and look at how to clean up, these are all the pieces that showed up for me as you were talking about. Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, wonderful. Thank you for all of that. That's wonderful. To me, I always see through the filter of Ayurveda. And so I, would say that there's a lot of fire, right? And in your constitution. Now, whether that's, and I think that's your constitution, but then things get, depending on the way that we live, they can get exacerbated, right? And so, when I was way in the old days and I was flying around the world and I was doing drugs and I was like every other day in another country, and that exacerbated my vata, which was too much movement in air and space, and it was scattered and disjointed and flighty and forgetful, and so that would be the kind of whatever out of balance of that. constitution. And so the fire, all of those qualities that you were saying when you were describing what's going on for you is a lot of fire. And so it's kind of what I love about Ayurveda. It takes the judgment of good or bad out of the actions that we're doing, it's like, oh, I'm angry or I'm this or I'm that. It's like, oh yeah, your fire is out of balance, right? It's like the element has like no ego attached to it. It's like, okay, so what are the practices that are going to help to take the fire down so that you feel the sweetness and you feel the calm and that you feel the ability to forgive? And I always tell, I always tell people who have a lot of fire, it's like the smarter you are, the harder it is to meditate. And so what it for people who have a lot of fire is to go back and kind of, even if you just were to stand against the wall and put your head against the wall and your back against the wall and lift your heart. And so my favorite thing to say is that let the heart lead and the head enjoy the ride, so that your heart would always lead you to the next action as best you could. Now, look, you can't lie to yourself, right? Like telling yourself, oh, I'm this, I'm going to make myself think this. And it's like, I don't think this yet, right? So sometimes, like I used to also love to kind of figure out ways to get out of my feelings, which is like what addicts and people who have addictions like to do. They don't want to feel something they don't want to feel, so they do something to get themselves out of it. And so, I could try and meditate something away even. I mean, I would be like, what? And so that doesn't work sometimes. Sometimes you just have to go there. And so that's where the sacred arts, the shade tree, right? The sacred healing earth arts. It's like, what's the art that's going to give you the permission to allow yourself to have the full feeling? Now, it might be storytelling. It might be going and talking with a therapist, or it might be writing a song about as truthful as you can to allow that stuff to come out. It might be making a piece of art. It might be going and doing some psychodrama. It might be going and just having a great cry. Like I was blown away with, if I just drop down and let myself fully feel it, it moves through. And so the yoga, asana, and breathing and all of those things, they can go two directions. One can be in service to helping to move those feelings up and out, and it can be a bit cathartic. Like I can have someone stay in a pose for a while to kind of like a tube of toothpaste, squeeze that stuff up and out like I'm just going to say this emotional bowel movement, right? I want to move this one along because it's been stuck in my heart chakra or my hips or in my neck or wherever, right? And the other way is if somebody's too emotionally volatile and things are too overwhelming, you can use the practice to soothe them and to calm them and to let them just, rebalance and take it little bites at a time, right? Let's go in with a pinky toe and just feel this a little bit, So again, it all depends on the constitution. And depending on, again, your elemental distribution, you are going to have a style that works for you, a way that works for you, as something that calls to you. And it's great to hear what you're saying about, the anger and just really being with that and breathing with that and feeling with that and giving it permission to be, right? And using different poses that might even allow that to release. Because what's underneath that, the anger, I always find a lot of times under anger is sadness. Like I need to have a big cry about something. Like I'm just so overwhelmed, and that might not be your situation, but that usually shifts it for me, and I have clear eyes after that. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but
very, very helpful. And what I've attempted to do is more to connect to that the concept of love that you were talking about. Like the more that I go into gratitude and love and acceptance, then it becomes all. Like I see my anger, and then if I accept my anger and see where it's coming from, then I can see other people's anger and where it's coming from. So the judgment goes away. It turns into empathy, which is what I need to do as a therapist and what I do as a therapist. So I keep coming back to the conversation you were having at the beginning of just being with the greatness and the grandness of the experience of acceptance and love in a way that it's all encompassing. And that usually is like a water on that fire you were talking about, like pouring water on the fire where it brings down the fire and it just, create something else in between, versus when the judgment happens for most of us, we remove ourselves from the space. If we didn't want to fight, we just remove ourselves. So then, beside that, then it's the loneliness and the aloneness that shows up, and which is creates another set of feelings. So coming back to, however we come back to that connectedness, whether it's connectedness to the earth or the animals or the human being or beings and all. It seems like it brings us into some source of a centeredness, where from there, then you can find the path that you have and move along with it. Because then when you are on the path, as I heard it also from you in my own experiences, things that resist, and they're supposed to be resisting, so that shows you that's not where your path is. And then the flow of whatever brings on, and the world also opens it in front of you, and it's like that's where the alignment shows up, and you kind of move along together. We have about 4 minutes, or less than 4 minutes, and I wanted definitely for our listeners to get to know how to find you, and what website they can go to. And so tell me, is that a shetree.org or somewhere else?
.com.
Shetree.com. Yeah. So SHEA.
Sorry, SheTreeCenter.com.
Okay, SheTreeCenter.com.
Yeah.
So.
And if you type in my name, Lisa Bennett Matkin, it'll bring you to the same place. So.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Can we have 3 minutes of meditation?
Absolutely. This one's for you, my dear.
Thank you.
So find a place where you feel completely comfortable. Allow yourself to drop down into your seat. Let your body be heavy. And focus more on letting go of the breath, allowing yourself to exhale all the old air out. And even when you get to the end of the exhale, before you inhale, count to 3. And then as slowly as you can, sip the breath back in. And again, exhaling all the old air out. And then before you inhale, see if you can hold the breath out to the count of 5. And feel as you hold the breath out, you get even more heavy. You let your belly be soft, and you feel your weight into your legs and your hips. I want you to imagine a beautiful body of water somewhere like the Caribbean or Hawaii or Tahiti, somewhere where there's that turquoise blue, magnificent water, and it's healing, and it's perfectly temperatured, and you're going to shed your clothes, you're going to dive right into that water. And it's crystal clear, and it's magical, and you can breathe under the water. You can just swim around and explore, and it feels so good. And you go down and you swim down to the bottom of this body of water. And you see the little plants and rocks and sand, and you see something that catches your attention, and it's this like bud of a flower beginning to kind of make its way up through the bottom. And it starts to move up towards the surface of this bud. It's on a long stem, and you actually experience this feeling from the base of the spine of your own body, and you start to feel energy moving up. And it moves up through the pelvis, behind the navel, up through the solar plexus, and up into the heart. And what you see is this beautiful bud begins to get to the surface of the lake, and it opens its petals, and you feel the petals of the heart beginning to open. So the surface of the lake is right at the heart, and you feel the petals of your heart beginning to open, and you see this flower, this magnificent blue lotus flower opening. And as it slowly opens its petals, you see the fragrance released, this kind of mist. You begin to draw it up into your nostril. And it's like sandalwood. It's just the most magnificent feeling, and it moves up. And your eyes are drawn up and in, and you go up And you feel it go right up into your third eye, the point between the eyebrows, about a half an inch up. And as you feel your awareness move up into that spot, there's this sense of something. It's almost like a beautiful energy, like a hand that just soothes your forehead and wipes away all the fear and worry.
Yeah.
And you take this in and you feel a stillness and a joy.
And I want all of our listeners to stay with this stillness as we say goodbye together with Lisa Bennett Matkin. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being on my show and allowing me and the listeners to get connected with our heart and with our spirit. And for everyone who's listening, create an amazing world for yourself and everyone around you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're listening to The Inner Voice with Dr. Foojan Zeine, only on LA Talk Radio.